Give them a link to one and then send them to another one. Okay. Is it through? Should be. Yes! Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully.
As are we live?
Please,
ready to go?
Please tell us everything's okay. Alright, yes. Everything seems to be good. Okay, do we sound okay? Does Reece sound okay? Reece, would you like to say something?
Guys, I'm probably going to talk from back here, so I'm going to, this is the normal position. Hopefully we can, hear everything okay.
Let's hope so. Matt sounds awful. Well, that's nice. Is my microphone not set right? Oh, I got it set to like...
Okay, hold on. Let me post this. Let me post this as well.
That should sound better.
Let me post this, Matt.
Okay.
Actually, do you want me to post this, or do you want me to?
No, yeah, you can post it.
Okay, sweet.
Now I am very quiet.
Guys.
Oh my god, it just doesn't end, does it? Okay. Do I sound okay now? Like, it's much better now. Turn yourself up. Is that better? More. It's a bit difficult to gauge that. Okay, cool. It's all good now. Sounds fine.
Okay, I just posted it, so we should be good on there as well.
Okay, let's make sure. Oh, this is a mess of an episode already. wrong microphone set. Who are these pretty young lads? Do you mean pretty young as in young, or pretty and young? Oh, Brian. Hello. All right. Are you prepared, Reece, for
Brian?
For a
Julian. I missed you guys.
Okay, let's actually do the podcast. It's been a while. I'm a bit rusty. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's start. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Hello everyone and welcome to Indie Dev Chat, a live streamed weekly show where I talk to fellow developers. If you're watching this on the stream, you may ask us any questions you have and we'll try to answer them. Furthermore, if you're on a podcast platform, please check out Matt Ball on YouTube if you want the absolute full experience with face cams, chat replay and more. Today I'm here with Reece. Hello Reece.
Hey guys.
And
I am. I'm gonna do my introduction.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna cut you off right there.
Dang.
Guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm a silly goofball that apparently doesn't know how to live stream. I'm making a game called Monster Tower. It's kind of like a Pokemon game, monster catcher, RPG. There's resource collection, exploration, all the fun stuff that you can do in RPGs. And that's what I'm currently working on. And yeah, I'll leave it to Matt to explain what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking a little bit about going full-time into game development, more specifically indie, because that's the experience we have. And yeah, so I think Reece has the most experience with this. So is there anything you want to start it off with?
I don't know, man. I think we're in a very similar boat, but
Yeah.
I just want to clarify. I'm not exactly. It's not indie as in full-time wage, full-time pay. Just living rich. That's not really the point of today's conversation, guys. It's more so about kind of making sacrifices, I guess. How I'm making sacrifices to work on my game full-time, and just kind of like build for the future, I guess.
Right,
so
right.
That's my clarification.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think we're doing a very, very similar thing, as you say. Yeah. So I don't know. How do we start a conversation about it? That's the real question.
Yeah, that is the question. Okay, so I guess I'll just start off with I guess it's most important for your audience. I haven't been on here in quite a little while, so there's been a lot of changes since then. So I guess I can just start off by explaining kind of how my year has been going. And then, Matt can talk about how his is going. I know you're further along in the process than I am. So
Yeah.
definitely some different stuff we can talk about there. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, back in I believe March, I started up the project, Monster Tower. I've
Was
been
it really
making
March?
devlogs
Holy
on it.
shit.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while. I've been
Mm.
making devlogs on it consistently, kind of like every month, put out a devlog. And the series has gained a decent amount of attraction. I think we have over like 35,000 unique viewers or 40,000 unique viewers, something like that, on the series. Very excited about that. And yeah, I've just been kind of like balancing between game development, developing the game, and then putting out devlogs. And yeah, the channel grew. I think when I started the series, it was at about 500 subscribers or something, and now we're at almost 5,000 over that. So yeah, very exciting. It's been a good year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still very far from finished, but I'm about halfway done the game now, I guess.
That's cool. That's cool.
So
Yeah. And yeah, I think we're in a bit of a different position in that because your goal is more your content creation is something that you have been focusing on quite a lot this year. This year I've sort of drifted away a little bit. You know, I'm not really sure why, but it happened, and here we are in December. But podcasting and stuff has been like what I've been wanting to do. It's much more me, I suppose. But yeah, no, I've been I've been advancing in different ways. So I'd say it's probably about June-ish. That's when I started learning a little bit about community management, like as a whole, right? Like not just like on one platform, like a lot of game devs do at the moment. Like a lot of game devs, they struggle to diversify their content over multiple platforms. I've always sort of been doing a little bit of Twitter and YouTube at the same time, but now with my business, I've sort of branched out a lot more. I now have someone with me doing it, but yeah, I studied like community management and a lot of the ins and outs of it for about 3 months, I'd say. I was just trying to learn like how you really grow. But yeah, no, now we've got a guy on helping us out with it, and I'm just giving him my advice, helping him out. And I'd say we probably do about 3 or 4 content posts a week of like of our actual game. So that's like screenshots, clips, and anything else we want to do. But yeah, we started that in October. That's when he was on the team. We were at 225 followers back then. Now we're almost at 400. So the growth's been, really consistent. I think we were at like, it was barely any impressions. Now we're at like 180,000 or something like that. I don't know how much it is. And that would be on Twitter. But then we also have other platforms. We're targeting Instagram and Facebook, and I'm not sure what else. I think that's it. But I am planning on probably diversifying even further. But that's a little bit of a I don't know yet. But that's been my goal. I've just sort of been trying to really get a name because I feel like I've sort of got a name for myself a little bit now. So I want to give a name to my brand, right? I think that's like the key part of my goal, I suppose.
yeah, very important. Yeah.
But yeah, because I don't know, I feel like when you're doing the whole indie thing, like solo and stuff, obviously you're trying to like support yourself and trying to grow yourself, right? Like as an indie, because indie. But then when you join a team and stuff, it becomes more so you have to start thinking about the team over you working alone, and it's not so much taking all the credit. I think it's more so like if you put out a video about their content or about your like the team's content, it's like there's less chance of people actually checking out the team over you, right? Because it's on your channel.
Yeah.
So I think making sure to separate what's yours and what's your team's is quite important. But I think there are definitely different ways you can do that. Like, maybe if you prefaced it that it was part of your team and you gave the team's name each video, but I feel like that would get really annoying. So I don't know. It's not something I've really experimented with. But yeah, that's been my focus. And yeah, is there anything you've been really focusing on?
Yeah, so definitely my focus has been on YouTube, as we said. I think it's a great platform for marketing and kind of getting people to know, I guess, like your product a little bit more.
Hmm.
But over the past month, I've kind of decided that I need to start focusing a little bit more on branching out and finding other places. So I tried Instagram. It's I think
Instagram's hard to
it's a
grow.
very slow
Yeah.
like snowball for sure. I've been doing Twitter quite a bit. I'm trying to post at least like twice a week, just to kind of gain at least a little bit of traction before game gets further in development. We're probably going to be doing like a Kickstarter in like quarter two of 2021, stuff like that. So I'm really just honestly what I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to do right now to prepare for that is just contacting as many people as I possibly can in the industry.
Hmm.
And so, at first that started with like the YouTubers and stuff like that. And it's been great, meeting a lot of game devs and interacting that way. But now I'm kind of trying to focus on actually like contacting people in like marketing, the business sides of things, and then just game developers that are on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, just different places, so that I can get different opinions from people that specialize in a variety of different things. Um, so that's been extremely exciting. Just like booking meetings with people and hearing their story
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So for sure, I see some comments here. Um, Instagram, it takes a while. You got to keep posting. Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely for all social media platforms. It definitely is like it's a slow build.
Hmm.
And if you're consistent, you can following and you can like
Yeah.
get your word out there for sure.
But I mean, that goes for every
Um,
platform. Like everyone
yeah.
knows that consistency is
Mhm.
important. Like even if it's like once a month or something, if it's consistent, it's good, right? Um, but I don't know. It's just I think some platforms are much harder to gain a following on. But like I think that also means that like each follower or whatever they call them on the platform is like it has more of an impact, right? Like Instagram, when you're gaining a follower, that's like that follower's gonna be that follower could be a lot more invested in your product. Like over like Twitter, Twitter you can have like loads of followers but like barely any engagement. And like same with YouTube. YouTube's like also the same as Twitter in a way, like I think. Um, but yeah, for sure. Like I think it really just depends on the platform you're on. Like because I think like especially with Facebook, Facebook pages have been possibly the hardest thing to grow on. Like I think we've gained about 5 likes because they call it likes, right? But like
Yeah.
those likes are more crucial, like I think, than other platforms. So I don't know. I'm not really entirely sure because Facebook's one of those that we're just doing because Facebook has been said to be quite helpful even now. So take advantage of it and maybe it'll work. I suppose I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say like for I guess for like the people listening and stuff, what I would say is there's probably like I would say like a good 5 to 10 that are very, very helpful. Like the Facebook, Twitter, even like TikTok now. I'm sure,
Oh yeah,
people can
TikTok's
like
been blowing up with
find some
game dev.
success on there as well.
Mm.
Yeah. So I like there's quite a few. And I would say like spend some time, at least like 4 to 6 weeks, posting to as many that you can, and then kind of when you start seeing like what you personally enjoy, because I think you have to actually enjoy what you're doing, but
Yeah.
the ones that you enjoy and the ones that you see the most engagement and get the most out of it, I would say kind of stick with like 2 to 3. So for me, Facebook wasn't really doing it. I was posting on there for a while. I don't really understand it, so it
Yeah.
just you can't specialize your time to everything. So
Mm.
I would say just kind of slowly weed things out, and focus on like 2 or 3. So for me, that's just like Twitter and YouTube now is pretty much that's it for me. Discord as well. Obviously, I'm trying to like keep the community more engaged, which I'm slowly working at, but it's still kind of in the process to
Yeah.
kind of revive the server and stuff like that. But you can't expect to be super active and successful on 10 different social media.
Yeah.
So as
No.
long as you're doing okay in one or maybe two, that's really all that matters, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think one of them, like one of the platforms that people invest a lot of time in, is Reddit, right? I mean, I don't really like Reddit at all, so I don't really use it. It's too confusing for me. Like, I think that's just because I haven't used
Yeah.
it before, right? Like, I think Reddit can do well if you have something really visual, really nice looking, and you do it only every so often. But like, if you do it like once a week, I think people might, you know, find it jarring in a way. It is weird. I don't know. Reddit seems like a weird platform because it's where all the memes and stuff come from. So I don't know. But
Mm.
yeah, um, I think again, it's just something you'll find yourself anyway. Like you'll find your feet with that. Um, but yeah, no. I mean, moving on from that, then I I think when was it? I don't even know. Like mid last year, mid this year. One of them, I don't know. I don't remember when it was, but basically, I started doing some freelance work. And recently I've noticed that's been like kicking off a little bit now. Which is very interesting. I didn't really think it would actually kick off, right? Um, but yeah, like now I'm getting. It's not like a lot of money, but it's a consistent amount of money, which is really good, right? But yeah, I think freelance is something that is really hard to break into when you first start out. But when people start recognizing you and stuff, it starts sort of, it's just like a snowball effect, right? Yeah. Um, but yeah, what's your experience with freelance?
Okay, so before we talk about my experience, I had a question for you. So,
Mm,
how are you actually doing your freelance? Like, off of what website, or, how are
right,
you
right.
growing it,
Yeah,
that
well,
kind of stuff?
right now, I've got it with two family members at the moment. So it's like sort of just growing from that. Like my dad has his own business, and he asked me if I could make an app for him and he'd pay me and stuff. And I started doing that, and then my uncle messaged me about 3 days ago, and then he wanted me to make a website for him. So I've been doing that, um, and I'm currently thinking up something that I can do for like I'll probably put it out on like I feel like it like on a local scale would be much easier um because my family has quite good connections with like people that need a lot of creative stuff. So I feel like I could probably just like ask my parents and stuff to like reach out and things like that. Um, but I think that could just be because of my area as well. Like we're in a pretty good uh like we're not in central London, but we're not like too far, right? So I think that definitely helps with getting like making connections and stuff.
Yeah. Well, me personally, I haven't done a whole lot. Like, I haven't like set up a thing. I think I was considering doing it in like January, like announcing maybe on my YouTube or something, that I'm gonna start taking commissions. I've done a few this year. Mostly I was working on a project. I had it on my YouTube channel. I started a double X series, but unfortunately the project went, kind of I had to jump off the project. I had to focus on other things. But it was still a cool experience, working kind of like as a freelance artist, for the project. It was very cool, getting like a consistent income from the work that I'm putting out, and stuff like that. So that was a cool experience. I would highly recommend, trying to do that, especially when you're learning, because if you can learn on the job, and get paid from it, like that's awesome. But obviously make sure that your skill is of a value that, somebody
Yeah,
will want to pay you for. But if they know your work and they're interested in your work, then I mean, it's a great way to get into it. Doing small projects with other people, just getting out there. Even if you do something on like Indeed, or like the Fiverr and stuff like that, things like that. um, Me personally, though, I haven't like set any of those kind of websites up.
yeah, yeah.
I've also done a couple trailers, just a couple like game trailers, and then I think I did one like freelance, um, not photo shoot, but like product thing.
Right.
Um, but for me, yeah, I don't know. It's just it takes a lot of time as well. So, I'm trying to balance, the paid work compared to just working on my game, doing YouTube. I get paid from YouTube now, so like it's not a lot, but it's something.
Yeah.
And that's nice for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of like my steady, whatever is like sponsorships, ads, donations, and then random freelance, things that just kind of come
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure. I think things just sort of pop up. Like I think it's
for
just
sure.
it's really hard to predict like how something's going to go next year in comparison.
Yeah,
So it's definitely a hard thing to plan out. But it's been working out pretty well for me, which I'm fortunate for. Um, but yeah, I think freelance is something that developers when you first start out, right? When you're maybe not when you first start. It depends on your sort of motivations, right? If you're wanting to go full time, obviously you're gonna have to eventually earn something in order to actually go full time, obviously. Um, and everyone knows that making games, at least for the first few years, is not very monetary, like at all. Like you're not probably not gonna make that much. Like it's not gonna be enough. Um, so, freelance is seen as this other thing that this other avenue that people seem to gravitate towards, right? And I think a common like misconception is that like freelance should like a lot of people expect freelance to be easy. I think in terms of like not necessarily working on freelance. Well, maybe actually as well as that, but also like getting freelance work and stuff. Like people like find it quite I don't know what the word would be, but it is quite demotivating, if you can't find like a bit of work at all, right? And I think some people expect that like it can kick off really easy, but I've been doing this 5 years, like non-stop almost, and I can tell you it's it's been 5 years until I've got my first piece of work and like my actual first bit of money. um but it's just something that people will need to like when you get into game development. You got to realize also that chances are you probably won't be able to just do game development to keep you going. Like you're gonna need to do something else at least for a bit, until like game dev starts kicking off. Like if you want to go full time, you cannot rely on game development at all, really. Like unless you are really lucky and you get like a hit game, which isn't really that likely. Um, you're gonna need to have something else like as a back burner, right?
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's just sort of
I think, yeah, yeah, for sure. I think, what you're saying is definitely true. And even though it is maybe discouraging to some people, I think, knowing the full truth is definitely like, is very beneficial. You can't just have people that are like, hey, if you do game development, you'll be rich in like a year. Because it's not practical. It's not how it is. So, but knowing the truth that, you do have to work a lot and you have to work for a long time, not seeing any results and stuff. At the same time, it's also there are definitely a lot of different avenues of like different, revenue streams that you can, find and stuff like that, as we've been saying. So definitely, like, I wouldn't discourage people
Hmm.
from doing game development, because I think there's a lot of value there for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, as I was saying before, like, if you're lucky enough to get an audience on YouTube or whatever, obviously there are things there with sponsorships and ads and stuff like that. But also, as we were saying, getting freelance work and on other social media too. I think I had a friend that he started promoting on like Twitter or something. I didn't even know that that was like a thing that you could do. I didn't know that you could make money off of like promoting products on there. But I'm sure,
Right.
Instagram, same thing.
Hmm.
So it's not just YouTube for sure. But I think that social media as a whole is like, it's kind of like the any man's game into becoming successful, because like both of us, like, we're just random people, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
we weren't gifted with this ability of like,
No.
okay, you're gonna be in game development, so go do that. Like,
Yeah. I had no
I
idea what
I
I
had
was
no
doing.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do. It was just a random thing that I picked up one day. And I was just consistent with it, kept trying over and over. I made like 3 different YouTube channels. This one finally, something happened. But it's just like, yeah, social media is kind of it's a little gateway, I guess, to like um, getting an upper hand and being able to find like let other people find your stuff. But I think we have some questions. So,
Yeah. I was gonna.
um,
I did have
you're
one.
doing okay. You look a little bit like you're dying. Yeah, I'm just tired today.
So am
And
I.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We did miss a question though.
Yeah, Rob
Which
Lang asks, do you like game
yeah.
jams? If so, do you think game jams are good incubators for larger games? I think I can.
Okay.
I think I can say something about that because Millions Minions started off as a game jam game, um, and for that second part of the question, no, I don't think it's a good idea to go from a game jam game to a full-on game. And when I say that, I don't mean idea wise. I mean in terms of like the actual game itself. So one problem that we made or one mistake that we made was that we, rather than restarting the project and starting from the ground up, we decided it would be a good idea to build upon what we had done. And obviously, everyone knows what game jam code is like, right? And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
messy, it's ugly, and it doesn't work with everything all the time. And it could have probably lost us about a month or two of work had we have just built from the ground up. However, saying that, I mean, I don't really know like what would have happened if we did build it from the ground up too. Like I don't know. I think if you execute it well enough, then yes, I think it can do well for larger games. Um, but especially when you're looking at it, rather than looking at like the actual game itself, look at the game idea and like how the like what makes the game unique and stuff, and really play on those. That's something that I wish we had sort of done. Like I wish we had built it with like millions of minions in mind, rather than spawning minions to like attack other enemies. And I think that's something we missed out on. But I'm not like really discouraged by that. I think I'm still proud of what we've done. I think it's fun. But yeah, I love game jams, and I'm gonna keep loving game jams. And in fact, I got a game jam after this, so I thought it'd be a great
What's the
idea.
game? What's the
Uh,
game jam?
it's the Yogscast Game Jam. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but they're like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah.
pretty big in the UK. But yeah, I've been watching them for like 10 years, so I was like, okay, well, I'll join this. um, but yeah, I mean,
Interesting.
we're actually, I think like game jams are really, they're really helpful. Like when you're feeling really demotivated, I find this uh, like when you're really demotivated, it's really good. Like I feel like game jams are a really good way to get back into the swing of it. At least that's been how it has for me. Like these past 2 weeks, I've been sort of like just not really doing any work. Really, I've been really unproductive, and I was like, well, I'll do a game jam and see what happens. Um, and yeah, it turned out to be it turned out to be really, really quite helpful when it comes to like motivating me again. So that's usually when I do that my game jams. Um, Also, like with our team, we try and stick to about 3 game jams a year or so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I would definitely recommend like between like through like two to six. I think if you're doing one like every month, that's a lot.
Oh, you're
Um,
gonna burn out.
yeah, you might burn out, but I mean, nobody knows you better than you, right?
That's
So
true.
if
That's
you
true.
think you can do it, do it. My take on the question though, um, I would say first of all, I think game jams are amazing. I think most people in game development will kind of agree that game jams overall are really good because you can get feedback very effective, very quickly. You put something out in like 2 to 7 days, and you can get people to like rate the game and comment on the game and stuff. It's really really valuable, and it just you feel like you're a part of something. Building a game based on a game jam, I think also like I think that can be very valuable. I actually just had a conversation. I know Isto was in here earlier, and he would know who I was talking about. But I had a conversation with a really successful guy the other day, and he pretty much told me like, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to become successful in the industry, amazing way to do that is just build like 20 to 50 prototypes of different games and see what grabs people's attention. So maybe not game jam specifically, but he was telling me like work on a game every month or every week. And there was, he gave me one example, which I guess I can talk about the game World of Goo or Tower of Goo or whatever. But that game was made by like 2 or 3 people, I think,
Hmm.
like college students or something. And they literally every single week made a prototype of a different game. So I think they
Yeah.
had like 50 different prototypes of different games. And yeah, like Tower of Goo was one of them. I think he was telling me that that's what it was called in the beginning phases. Now it's called World of Goo, but it's one of the most successful mobile selling games. And so really, it takes that one to really just blow up, grab people's attention. So yeah, and then again, what he told me, I'm not trying to take his words. I think is very valuable information. But basically, what he told me is, if I told you right now, make the biggest selling mobile game right now, you would have no idea what to make, and you would have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah.
But if you said, make 50 prototypes, make a successful game. Like it's so much easier because you just have so many different um, ideas. And
Right.
yeah, so I think making games in a very small amount of time is very very beneficial
Hmm.
for learning in general. Try all the different types, like try the platformers top down, a rhythm game, all the different things that you can do. But then also from there, it's like it's a great way to kind of find an idea that people are actually like interested in,
Right.
and then go from there. If you end up getting like top 10 in a game jam or something, like that's a good sign that like this is a good idea, and maybe you should look into moving it forward.
Hmm.
um so yeah, I think they can definitely be very beneficial,
Yeah.
just in general.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree. I think game jams, like the only thing that I have wrong with game jams is the rating system is really outdated. Like it's something that it was new at a time, but now it's like there are so many
Mm.
people joining game jams. Like there's like up to more than up to like 12,000, 20,000 people sometimes, and it's like the rating system is really trash because it's really hard to like get ratings, right? And I think it's something that definitely needs to be changed in some way. I don't know how how you think of a voting system that works for 20,000 people, but as Skiffles just said there, how do you improve game jam ratings? To be honest, it's not something I would really know. I'd say like really, I think like we should go back to the whole judges thing. And although 20,000 people is a hell of a lot, if you got like 1,000 judges, which is still a lot of people, surely if you have 20,000 people joining, then I think you should be able to get 1,000 people to help judge.
Yeah, or even like 500 or 300 people.
Yeah,
playing, 50 whatever games. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I think, yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I think right now, like, we especially saw it with like games from Danny and stuff for game jams. Like some people are like there's a bias towards them just because of their following and stuff, and that's something that we saw with Danny, and that's something that definitely needs to be improved on, because it's just a bit irritating if you're just starting out and you think you've done really good, and then suddenly this guy with like 1 million subscribers comes in and just like it's just almost wins sort of thing. I think it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. But yeah, Skeffels just said, I quite liked how Ludendare encouraged you to rate games in order to get more ratings. Yeah, I think that was a good idea in some ways, but again, I think the same problem still arises where also people don't really have, like, the people that don't have as much time to like rate games and stuff, because there are people that have super busy schedules, like it's really difficult to rate other people's games and stuff, and to get 20 ratings, usually that's not too bad, but like I think some people struggle with that, and I think was it, I don't know what jam it was, but me and our team, we participated, I think it was Ludendare 47, but one thing that we found was that it was just really, like, this was the first time we really struggled to get ratings. Like, it was just, like, we rated a hell of a lot of games. I think I rated about 30 or 40 different games, and I know a bunch of other members of the team, they also rated a bunch of games, and I think we got like 16 ratings, and it's like, it's a hell of a lot more difficult than people think, and the game was actually really good, like in comparison to what we've done before. It was actually really well done. So yeah, it's a shame, but not much you can do about it, and I think that's also the fun of,
no system's perfect.
I think that's also the fun of game jams, though. Like, you can make like loads of these silly mistakes and get away with it. You can't do that for a commercial game. When it comes to like a game jam game, if you make a mistake or if there's a bug, people are a lot more understanding of it and more vocal about it and stuff. And I think that's quite helpful. And whereas, commercial games, if you have a gamer that's getting angry that there's this bug that breaks the whole game, rightfully so, right? I'm not taking away their right to argue.
Yeah.
But that's something that you can definitely improve yourself on with game jams a lot easier. Game jams were, my biggest source of learning, really. I'd say like right at the start, like, well, maybe not my biggest, but it was a substantial reason why I learned so much, I think.
I would agree, for sure. There's a lot to learn, as we were saying. Okay, so we talked about game jams. We talked about freelance. So going back to the original topic of doing game development full time, I guess, and kind of like, I mean, I guess just anything game dev related. Guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask us as well.
Yeah.
Because it starts a conversation, and then
we start going off.
Yeah. So.
Oh, here we go. Good question. Question from Roger McAllister. Is it a good idea to try to get right into indie dev, or is it better to try to get a software job and do indie on the side until it gets going? I'd personally say just get right into it, but that would also depend on your situation, like in terms of like your home situation and stuff. Like if you're struggling to like keep yourself like afloat in terms of money and stuff, then yeah, don't go for indie dev. Like for sure, you should definitely just go for a software job. But if like you have some sort of like income already, then not much is stopping you from going into indie dev. And Rob Lang's a good example of someone that he earns money. Like he's a full time web developer and he does indie development like a couple hours a day, and that's something that you could definitely do if like that's what you wanted to. But really, it depends on you know you as a person. I think for sure.
In your situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it definitely like okay, so going full time or getting a job and working on it like part time, like there's definitely those are the two like main options obviously that you have. And my take is definitely like not exactly like a Gary V standpoint. I mean kind of. So like for example, I watch a little bit of Gary Vee and like people like that are kind of promoting like the entrepreneurship and like get your business started and whatever. And so I think there's a lot of value in the things that they say of really what it comes down to is like what are you willing to sacrifice. So for example, if you're young, I would say focus a lot of your attention on trying to start now.
Yeah.
By young, I mean like, 18 and under, I would say, because that's like high school
Oh
kind
yeah.
of
No,
thing.
that was something that
So
I.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, like if you're in high school and or before whatever, like you can focus a lot of your attention on building this brand, and the world's evolving. It's not just about like degree that you have is the success that you're gonna acquire whenever in life. But if you're a little bit older and you're in college and or after you're already working a job and stuff like that, I would say make sure you're playing life safe. Like take risks for sure, but you can't just throw everything away, especially if you have dependents, if you have
Yeah.
kids or a wife or anything like that. Like things take priority. So again, it's really just prioritizing and what are you willing to sacrifice. So even if you're 35 years old, like or if this is really what you want to do, this is like the ultimate thing, this is my dream, there's nothing stopping you from moving back home for a year and bringing your expenses down to basically nothing, right? Like there is that option there, but obviously a lot of people can't afford to do that, and they won't want to do it, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. And so in those cases, that's where keep your job, do it on the side, build it up slowly, or also like I'm not a great example because I ended up, just going fully into it. I was in college, and I dropped out because I don't know. I'm somebody that's like I get very bored of things,
Right.
and I was bored. I was bored. I wasn't happy with what I was doing, and I just didn't really see a future. And like I don't really want to do this like what I'm studying for. So I ended up just leaving and doing, the game development thing full time. But obviously I know it's because I had the ability to. I was like 18 years old, um, you know, in college and whatever. So I'm still very young. I don't have anybody associated to me. So like I bring my expenses down to like let's say $100 a month, and like I'm allowed to do that. So yeah, it's really just down to your circumstance and what are you willing to sacrifice. So for me, like again, you kind of have to like, for example, I won't really like go out with my friends a lot. Spend extra money doing things like I'm very frugal with my expenses, and that's how I'm allowed to do these things is because even though my income is very low, a couple thousand, few $1,000s a year doing game development and stuff like that, it's my expenses are low enough that I'm still able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's very good, but also obviously you have to build for a higher future, and I'm hoping that this is kind of the turning point. I'm going to be signing an investment deal for the company and stuff like that. Get some more money in, and then also, getting a couple of different companies have been having a lot of meetings lately, and making a lot of like deals and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that this is kind of the turning point year that now I don't have to live so like frugally and scared. definitely there's going to be a couple years that's the situation. So I would say, I guess, just, as we're saying, everyone's situation is different. So how much are you willing to sacrifice, and what are you actually able to sacrifice?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and make sure when you are making these sacrifices, like don't like what as Reece says when like he doesn't go out with his friends as much. Like make sure that you don't completely go off the grid sort of thing. Because that
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
social interaction is super important, and it's something that you really
Mhm.
start to learn when you're doing indie dev because you're like, dang, this is lonely. It is really
Yeah,
important that
yeah,
you
yeah.
you do keep up with like at least a little bit of what you were doing. Just making sure that you don't completely sacrifice everything. Yeah, and when we say what you were able to sacrifice, like I'd say a boundary is when like if it starts affecting your mental health doing it, like if you start going into
Yeah.
indie development and you start, it makes you like start suffering, you should definitely
Mhm.
rethink it and think about what you can do to maybe, make it more of a hobby thing rather than a full time thing. And there will obviously there's going to be times when you feel like that, right? There's always times when you're doing full time indie where you're like, is this even working and stuff, and that's normal. Um, and if you're at the start of it and you just find that like for a good few weeks or so you're just like, wow, this is not for me at all, then stick with your gut because you really need to focus on yourself over your goals. That's the most important thing because that even though getting to a goal can lead you to happiness, it could also lead you to unhappiness too. Like there's the YouTuber Pontypants. He made a video about how he left his full
Yeah,
time
I saw
job. He was earning like a good amount of money, and he had reached his dream, but because he had reached his dream, he had nothing to work towards, right? So then he's gone full time indie because of that. Um, so yeah, it really depends on how disciplined you are too, because you're gonna build up a lot of discipline when you're doing indie development, but just make sure that when you do start out, you're definitely gonna do it right because you need to set your mind to it if you really want to be successful with it. Like indie development, it seems like it doesn't take that much time. Like because we're only on a call for like an hour, it's like, oh, they're calling for an hour. That's not too bad. But I mean, I don't know how many hours you put in, Reece, but for me, it's more than a full time job of like how much work I put in a week usually. Um,
Mhm.
and that is that's the situation of a lot of game development out there. Crunch is basically everywhere. And you can't really avoid it. At least at the start, you can't. It might get easier over time, but at least at the start, you're gonna have to
Mhm.
push really hard. And you
Yeah.
just gotta be
Yeah,
prepared for it.
yeah, for sure. And I think in indie development, in the way of being an entrepreneur, at least,
Yeah,
having your own business and being your own boss, I think that's kind of relatively like what everyone thinks. And um which I think is completely like, that's what I'm trying to do. That's the road that I'm trying to go down and everything.
yeah, same.
Um, but I think that it's kind of funny because it's like when you're at the start of it, it's kind of like a kid having no parents. It's like, oh, I can eat junk food whenever I want. I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah,
Go to bed whenever I want. Have a bedtime. It's kind of like that, but with a job. And then you slowly start to realize over time, it's like, oh, like there's a reason that we're supposed to eat our vegetables. There's a reason that we're supposed to have a bedtime. Like,
right.
and I think that for me is what I'm learning along my journey is like, I have a lot more structure than I thought I would have when I was going into it. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. But yeah, I think definitely like, making sure that you are mentally stable is very, very hard to do, to be honest, when you're doing something for yourself, because at least in my case, like I'm an overthinker for sure.
Yeah.
Like I, struggle with a lot of like anxiety and things like that. And so for those kind of people, I think, you know, because I'm one of them, like maybe, I can relate more or whatever. But I think that it is a good trait to have, especially when doing something like this, because you do overanalyze a lot of things.
Yeah.
You take a lot of, precaution into things and whatever. But I think that, and at least for me, it's like every hour that I'm not spending working on my game or
It eats
building
you
my
up.
brand or whatever, it's a little bit stressful, and I kind of feel
Yeah.
like, well, I could be doing more. So
Exactly.
you really have to be careful with that of, taking 3 hours or taking 2 days to just spend time with friends and family. Like that's okay, because in the long term, it's probably going to benefit you more, because
Yeah.
if you're just like, I just recently got into this, like, um, feeling like I'm putting my hours worked, prioritizing my hours worked over my like work done. And so, I'm just kind of focusing on, like, basically, am I miserable for like 8 hours a day? Like, am I like sticking my head in the mud, doing my work for 8 hours of the day? And when I'm not, it kind of stressed me out, and I would overthink it and whatever. But now I'm starting to pull back and kind of think, when I'm happier and I'm just doing the work because I want to do the work, I get it done so much faster, and I
Yeah.
get done
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much more progress. So you have to be very careful. And, with what I was saying before, like, what are you willing to sacrifice, whatever, like, just because it's not a necessity doesn't mean that it's not something that is realistic, or like something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should or whatever,
Hmm.
so like just be careful with that,
Yeah. Listen
and
to yourself. I think that's the
know your
biggest thing.
limits as well. Like
Yeah.
everyone has different limits, everyone has different
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
skill sets and everything. So
Yeah. Like
just
for me,
figuring out who
like
you are is a very hard thing to do, to be honest, and it's something that you learn along the way,
mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, like for me, I learned that the way I work is I usually do it in bursts. Like, a lot of people, they think,
Mm.
like, you work in, like, just, you keep working consistently, right? Like, that's the stereotypical way of how you're supposed to work. However, as Reese was saying, when you're happy, you do a lot of work, right? You like, you pump out really good quality work. And, for me, like I probably go on for about, it could be about 3 months, and then I'll take a 2 week break, and I'm fine with that. I think that's fine. I think as long as I'm, if I need a break, I'm gonna take that break for when I need it, because that is important to me, to take breaks and to take time for, with my family, with my friends, stuff like that. Really reserving time for things that are crucial to me, because as a social person, that I'm getting teamed messages. Hang on. As a social person, it's really important that I keep in contact with people. That's why I do this podcast. It keeps me socializing. Almost forced. I almost force myself to talk to people, but not like in a bad way, right? But like in terms of, I if I have like the need to talk to people, then I'll happily do so, and it keeps me pretty motivated. But yeah,
I don't know, it's good for sure.
and finally, because we're getting close to the end, Skeffles has a question. Assuming unlimited time and resources, what would be your dream game to make? Oh, I hate this one. Every time. Comes up in every stream. Dream game.
Yeah.
Oops. Uh-oh. We got a power surge.
Something just cut out.
That's okay. Yeah, I just got a power surge. That's all.
Okay, I think we're back.
Okay. That was worrying.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, assuming
Okay.
unlimited time and resources. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I say I'll probably work on a multiplayer game. Like that would be something that I'd like something with like big servers that supported like 100 people would be really cool. I think, just something that like that you can really flex on others with. I think that'd be funny. Well, I wouldn't really flex on them, but you know what I mean. Like I think it would be something that you could really be like, wow, look at this, supports 100 players.
That grand scale.
Yeah, that's that'd be cool.
Yeah. I feel like I would probably. I mean, I guess a childhood dream game would be Monster Tower, but like at a higher level, you know. If I
Yeah,
could hire on a team to do everything, make the game in 3D and have all these 3D models of all the monsters and all that stuff, I would probably say pretty much Monster Tower.
right.
That's very much of what my type of game is. If you guys don't know what that is, that's the game that I'm working on right now. But I guess now, like because your opinion changes over time. And I think probably honestly same thing with Matt as you were saying, like
Mhm.
working on a multiplayer game, just because I think video games as a whole I kind of view as like it's a social entertainment. Um, so I think if I were to be able to make a game that kind of like brings a large community of people together, um, to me like that would be like the most satisfying, I think. So making some kind of like multiplayer, I like fighting games a lot, so maybe some kind of like multiplayer fighting game or something.
Yeah.
Multiplayer Monster Tower confirmed. Well, I mean technically like there's local multiplayer, but online that's a whole nother story, and I don't know, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that would be it, like an online, like if I could turn Monster Tower into an online esport, that would be pretty dope, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, I think that ends it off pretty well. So Reece, it's been great having you on the show again, man. Hopefully we'll have you on again, and yeah, I look forward to talking to you again because it's always fun. But yeah, keep working on Monster Tower, and yeah, everyone, you should go to Reese's channel. The link's in the description. Go see what he's up to. He's got some cool stuff.
and follow me on Twitter, please, because I'm trying to grow that, and it's a lot less successful.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. I'll speak to you later, Reece.
Thank you for having me on, Matt.
Yeah,
It's been
no
a
worries.
blast.
Cool.